I did a lecture one time. Hi, again, this is Richard Carson Steuart in La Tromba studio here in Würzburg. This is the man with the horns, and this is an interesting thing that I prepared. This is the John Bull trumpet in England, and that's Gottfried Riker, and he's holding this here. This is some paper that I put together for a lecture that I did one time. Talking about mouthpieces, this is actually a Renaissance mouthpiece, how it fits in a lead pipe. This is an interesting, I guess this was Anton Schnitzer trumpet. Look at how engraved everything is here. Can you get any of that? This is wonderful. This is gold and silver, fantastic. The mouthpiece goes in. This is a natural trumpet in parts. The bell, the mouthpiece, the first yard, second yard, and the pipes holding it together, and the bell. And these instruments were held together with beeswax. So you can take them apart and put, add different yards in or different center parts to make them older. This is how a mouthpiece fits into a trumpet. This was a lecture that I gave. So I just happened to have this hanging around here in the studio, and I thought it might be interesting just to show you some interesting graphical pictures of some different instruments. Come on, turn the page. I talked before about how a mouthpiece has to fit into a lead pipe. Well, depending on what kind of a construction. This is the famous Pretzel Trumpet, and it has you can see the bell here. Now I think I presented this in Leipzig in 2000, and I think it was 2017, 2018, I can't remember, November. Yeah, I think it was 2017, and a man named Munkwitz, a very fine instrument maker, made a copy of this, and he gave it to me. There are only two of these trumpets, and this is the instrument played by Cesare Denali. It's the so-called Denali trumpet. Now, the reason it's in that form, I'm of the opinion, and like that, is so that he could even play with hand reflection. He could, put his hand around here. And talking about hand reflection that's what I want to talk about here now. Basically, that's what a natural trumpet is. It's just a long pipe with a flare at the end. So, finishing off this little story here and getting back to what I was discussing before about what the trumpet catch is about in the last YouTube. This instrument, its basic intonation is Baroque F, F in 4/15, which would be modern E. Now, once again, have this trombetta sola, sonata prima. Okay. The concentration and the focus on one or the other instrument is really the biggest challenge in this kind of thing that I'm trying to do. So bear with me and try to understand that I'm not trying to impress you with anything. What I'm trying to do is impart information, impart knowledge that's accumulated over 50 years of playing the trumpet. And I just want to give this on to students and people that are interested in the instrument, the trumpet instrument in itself, and what I've learned about it. Now, I'm not saying I know everything about how to play the trumpet and what the trumpet is about. I can only tell you what I know, and I hope that it's somehow interesting for one or the other of you. That's not an apology for cracking notes on the trumpet catcher or whatever, but it is an explanation of why I force myself to do this, because nobody's paying me any money to do this. I'm already in retirement, and I'm paying for this to be filmed and to be given to you. I'm getting no sponsors or anything like that. So this is not about money. Not everything in life is about money, believe me. The higher things in life have nothing to do with money. And we live in a very materialistic society, and it's sometimes very depressing when no one has idealism anymore. I'm full of idealism, and that's what keeps me going. It's what maybe actually developed what I consider my trumpet playing to a higher art. Idealism. Only idealism. Anyway, I saw this picture of Gottfried Reich, and I showed you before in this little thing here. I saw this in Leipzig, and this guy holding an instrument, and I said, what the hell is that? Everybody says it's a trumpet. Is it a trumpet? Or he's a trumpet player. It's not a horn player. That looks like a horn. Well, depending on how you look at it in the picture and whatever, and it's kind of dark and whatever, and, there's a lot of, they had to clean the picture up. When I went to the museum, it wasn't there. They were still trying to renovate it, or not renovate it, but restore it. Anyway, so I did get a good look at it, and just after some photos like this, I had this instrument made. So there was no plans or anything like that, and I had to work with it. First of all, I took the natural trumpet, this long natural trumpet that I showed before, they're over there in the chair, and I had Mr. Poggensay make me a bell that could go out to the side like that, so I could find out whether or not my theory or my intuition that Mr. Gottfried Reicher was actually using hand reflection to play this instrument, to try it. So he made a bell that curved like this, and I played it on this instrument. I talked before in a few earlier YouTube how the intonation is corrected here or tempered. Basically, it's not corrected, but tempered through these intonation holes. Well, after him making a bell that I was really sure that through the hand reflection you could really intonate that way, I decided to have the whole instrument made. So basically I can play chromatically from C to G just by lowering the intonation from one to the other overtone. Because we're starting at the 8th overtone, as I demonstrated before on the natural trumpet. Well, let's just do it here once again. And I'll just put this here right now. Once again. So these holes really don't help that much. You can't really find the right hole to play, for example, a C flat. Now there are English models where they have open wrap and they use 4 holes and stand like this, but it's still not a natural trumpet. They're still Baroque trumpets. It's still an instrument with holes to correct intonation. And I thought, well, there's no holes in the trumpet that Gottfried Reich is playing. Therefore, there must be something happening. He must be doing something that people don't understand. There's no books written about it. There's actually nothing written at all about how to do that, except the fact that later in the 19th century, the late 18th century, after Bach and Gottfried Reich, he died in 1734, were gone, people started using hand reflection for horn. That's interesting. Beethoven wrote for that. There's a wonderful solo in his is he the 9th or the 5th symphony. I was just watching a YouTube recently with Barenbaum and his wonderful orchestra from East West Devon Orchestra. Anyway, hand reflection for horn is something that was well known before they were playing open also. Now I thought, well, he's got some really difficult things to play. I'll just play a little bit of this Viviani once again. Now I have to be very quick with the hand movement because I want to be able to have a consistent airflow and be able to adjust the intonation and still make a musical line. Don't forget, it's not about blowing the trumpet, it's about how you make music with a simple pipe like this. No vowels, because the vowels weren't invented until 1812. No holes. There's no instruments in the museums that have holes in them. And instruments like that you couldn't find at all. I mean, the instrument that was in the museum in Leipzig was gone after the Second World War. They did make some copies. There was one by Pfeiffer that I played in one of the YouTubes, project for Leipzig project. You might want to check them out. But I play an instrument that was brought to me direct out of the museum. I'd never played the instrument. The guy said, try this, and 300 people standing for me. I want to try the instrument. Why not? Anyway, the idea is that the conicality of the bell is going to influence where the sound reflects off the open end of the instrument and back. Just going this. So you got all these options and possibilities just for the hand reflection of being able to play full chromatic on the instrument. Now the question is, if you want to invest the time and the energy to learn how to play this. I have actually had 3 copies of this instrument made, and I'm looking for 3 students. I've got 5 different bells here, and I can have other bells made just like this. You can have angel heads on it and whatever, you know. And I'm financing this project. I just need 3 students or colleagues who are interested in helping me develop this and helping themselves learn how to play the instrument. It doesn't cost anything, the instrument already exists. And I'm always interested in developing something like the C trumpet that I showed at the beginning of this series. Always trying to improve things and trying to develop them and understand them better. So the music of Johann Sebastian Bach was, I believe, must have and had to be played on this instrument, the clarino thing. And that came also over people like Wewanowski. Here's this sonata. I'll just play this in C minor. This is not in C minor, this is G minor, but on the C natural trumpet. So if I start here with the 5th overtone, 6th overtone, I'm getting a pretty nice G minor chord. G, B flat, D. Now this is a piece written from Wewanowski before Bach wrote for this instrument. And I'm sure that somebody like Gottfried Reiche must have known the works of Wewanowski, who was a trumpet player and a composer in Bremen, Bohemia. But Mike is telling me that the time is up for this short YouTube, so I'm going to get back to showing the progression of Wewanowski into the time of Bach and the playing of this instrument by somebody like Gottfried Reiche and how I think he might have approached playing Bach on this instrument. So I hope you see it again in The Man with the Horns, Richard Carson Steuart. And I hope you enjoy these YouTubes. If you want to write to me at the end of the YouTube, you can see my address, email address, and whatever. And I'm a pretty open person, and so if you want to get in touch with me, fine. Let's talk. As I said, I've got instruments that I'd like to get other people involved with. These are all the bells and whistles and pipes that are necessary to build 3 other trumpet catches in keys from high F down to low B flat. Okay, see you again. The Man with the Horn, Richard Carson Steuart.